At the foot of this rainbow, you won't find a crock of gold, but you will find a hidden treasure. It's the Killmastulla River. This river is one of the most important tributaries of the River Shannon. It's a wonderful wild habitat and nursery for the Atlantic salmon. The Atlantic salmon have been coming to this river for hundreds of years to spawn. I have worked on this river for nearly 30 years on fisheries protection during the spawning season in my role as a fisheries development officer with the ESB. I am in a position to say that this river plays a very important role indeed in the survival of the Atlantic salmon. When I started work first as an ESB fisheries warden, I had the privilege of working with a man called Paddy Shine, who came from Castleconnell. And Paddy at that time had been 30 years on the Killmastulla River during the spawning seasons. So, combined with Paddy's experience and mine, I am speaking of 60 years on the Killmastulla River. It's the end of November on the Killmastulla, and we can see that the Atlantic salmon have returned here, and there is an awful lot of activity as these wonderful fish take part in the ritual of spawning and the ritual of survival. If we look at the bed of the river, we can see there's an abundance of gravel, and gravel is a very important ingredient indeed for spawning purposes for the Atlantic salmon. Castleconnell, one of the renowned fisheries of Ireland, depends on the Killmastulla for its fish. Indeed, it's a known fact that the big Castleconnell salmon of pre-Shannon scheme days, actually some of these marvellous Atlantic salmon spawned in the Killmastulla River. Fish of 30 and 40 pound were once found in the Killmastulla River, spawning at this time of year. So it gives an idea of the importance of this fabulous nursery, this wonderful habitat for the Atlantic salmon. There is so many fish in this area that there is ongoing battles between male fish as they compete for the hens. And as we approach the new millennium, scientists are expressing their grave concerns about the survival of the Atlantic salmon. So that's why it's very important to strive to retain these wonderful habitats, because this is where it all begins. This river, of course, suffered a severe setback during the life of the mines, and severe damage was caused to the survival of Atlantic salmon on this particular river. And it's only now that this river is beginning to recover fully from the damage of the exploration of the silver mines. So that is why I felt grave concern when I heard that a national dump or a super dump was to be located on the banks of this fabulous habitat, and how unjust and how unfair it would be to this wonderful river that is now only recovered from the years of the lifetime of the mines. So let's hope that we can, by showing this video, maybe show the importance of this river to the survival of the Atlantic salmon. Because I don't think this river could survive a second time. Some of these fish are in immaculate condition, and they are mostly salmon fish, around 10 and 12 pound. And it's these salmon multi-sea winter fish there that are under most stress as we approach the new millennium. So let's hope that good sense will prevail and the powers that be will think long and hard before they inflict any more damage on this super habitat. There's a fabulous fish over there, between 10 to 12 pound, and there's not a mark on this fish. Fabulous fish. You'll notice how the males chase one another away from the females. So a very healthy sign indeed on the Killmastulla River, and a great sign for the future, providing of course that this river can retain these fabulous fish and these fabulous habitats that we are now looking at. That's a salmon red that fish is in, and he's there in the pit of the red, and just behind him there is a heap of fresh gravel, and that's how the salmon covers the eggs. The hen will lay the eggs, the male will fertilize them, and then the hen with her tail will cover the reds. So all over the Killmastulla there are practically hundreds of these reds, and this little fish, I'm afraid, got a belt of a spear, or indeed, of course, it could also be a mink. And here we see a hen fish. She's about 12 pound weight, and she's in the process of red making and of course planning the survival of the future of the Atlantic salmon. Notice how she flicks the gravel back with her tail to cover the eggs. And of course, as I said, it's the abundance of gravel in this river that makes it such an excellent habitat for these wonderful fish. The fish to the right there, that's the male fish, and he's also a fish of around 12 pounds, an excellent multi-sea winter salmon. And as we move further along this river, we can find massive salmon redds all along the bed of the river. There's a whole series of salmon redds here, and you can see the large mound of gravel that house the eggs. Incredible spawning in an incredible habitat. It's very easy to distinguish these redds because where the fish root the gravel, it's clean and the normal river scum is missing off the stones, so these redds are quite easily identified. Here's another red here, and we can see how easy it is to identify these salmon redds. And these redds play a colossal role in, as I said, the survival of the Atlantic salmon. There's another massive mound of redds, and they stretch right across the bed of the river from bank to bank. Just to show, I suppose, the importance of the Killmastulla, we're looking here at the ruins of an old protection station that was located on the banks of the Killmastulla. 2 fisheries officers would have lived in this for the duration of the spawning season each year. So it highlights, of course, the importance of the Killmastulla and the amount of fish that spawned in this river warranted the setting up of this particular protection station on the Killmastulla.